Just give me a minute, Sandeep sir.
Yes, sir.
Myself, Sanket Vathare. Uh, I'm founder and CEO of Atlanta Metallurgical Services in Kolhapur. From last 8 years, we are running a metallurgical testing lab in Shiroli MIDC Kolhapur, and we have more than 350 customers over here from Satara to Belgaum. So we are very happy to serve in this area, as metallurgy is supposed to be the difficult part, but actually it's the most simplest of it. So let's start the uh, Austemper ductile iron part, the metallurgical perspective. Basically, we are not going deep into any technical aspect or much into the uh, heat parameters, or we can say the different uh, effects of different uh, heat or chemistry part onto the properties of Austemper ductile iron. But let's just start the part of it. So basically, right now we all are dealing with ductile iron, and we all are dealing with ductile iron and cast iron, as we all know. Uh, for many reasons, some properties are lacking when we use ductile iron or cast iron. Like, there are so many applications where we are facing problems by using forging for any application, or even after we are using uh, ductile iron for the application, we still face some problems that when we are going for forging, we are facing some problems as we deal with the mushy state of steel. And when we go to ductile iron, we face some kind of ratio of strength to ductility, or hardness to strength, or hardness to ductility, is not suitable for some of the applications, not exactly in the automobile area only, but in other regions, as pump industry or turbine industry, like this. So basically, uh, when we look at the Austemper ductile iron, it is nothing but a transformed another form of ductile iron, which has some better properties than ductile iron without compromising its ductility. As we all know that we go for ductile iron basically for its ductility, and we are not in a condition to compromise the ductility part of it, but still we want the higher amount of strength, which is not possible in case of ductile iron. Then we can think of Austin just a heat treatment process which offers uh, the best combination of low cost, design flexibility, and good machinability. So basically, ductile iron, when we transform the ductile iron using the Austempering temperature, and then we get a combined microstructure of stabilized austenite and ferrite. I'm going towards just excuse me for opening another part of heat treatment presentation. As we all know, the important part of iron carbide diagram, uh, in case of ductile iron, the transformed area of ductile, and we just go to the from allotropy to the heat treated part of ductile ion. Here we can see for any kind of ferrous metals, the heat treatment process is basically the heating and cooling part of it. So if we heat it above the austenitic temperature, then we have the option to change its mechanical or basically mechanical properties and microstructural as well by heating it to austenitizing temperature, and after heating by cooling it in different manners. As we can see that if we go for slow cooling, we get the structure of ferritic pearlitic, and if we want the wear resistant part of ferrous alloys, we have to go for rapid cooling, which will give us martensite, which is hard and brittle. So basically we were talking about stable austenite. So austenite is not stable at room temperature. When we go to the austenitic temperature, we have already gone towards the unstable state of iron. So when that unstable austenite is there above 726 or 727 degrees centigrade, basically it is not at the stable condition. That's why what by using whatever process of cooling, it is definitely going to transform into another phases. If we slowly cooled it, the austenite will transform to ferrite and pearlite, and if we rapidly cool it, it will go to from austenite to martensite. But at this stage, we are talking about such applications where we want to increase the strength of ductile ion, or we can say still we have to increase the strength of it without compromising much of ductility. So in that case, we have an option of austempering. So in that case, we have the option of austempering. So compared to the conventional grades of ductile ion, ADI delivers twice the strength for a level of ductility in the form of elongation, where we are getting the combined microstructure of ferrite and stabilized austenite, which we can call it as ausferrite. Just to note it down, austempering is applicable for steel as well as cast iron or ductile iron. So the basic difference is, if we are treating steel, we will get the combination of austenite, that is retained austenite, and bainite, whether it is upper bainite or lower bainite, depending on the temperature of austempering. And in case of ductile iron, we are getting high carbon stabilized austenite along with ferrite. The structure which we can call it as ausferrite. So as we know the basic chemical composition after magnesium treatment, we get it as ductile cast iron and its properties. But just for the introduction part, microstructure of ADI, where we can easily see that in case of nodular cast iron, the microstructure consists of acicular ferrite in high carbon austenite. This matrix is called as ausferrite. Now, the interesting part is, it is the combination, the structure is the result of combination of temperature and time. It's all about temperature and time. So there are different grades of austempered ductile iron, and these grades have standards or other European standards. As per those standards requirements, we can set the combination of temperature and um, time, temperature and time. But as we can see here, that in case of steel, we are getting the matrix of upper bainite and retained austenite. The upper bainite, the bainitic structure is nothing but the combination of ferrite and cementite, just same as perlite. Perlite, you all know, perlite is the combination of ferrite and cementite. The same combination is here in case of bainite, but although the A and B both part are same as bainite, the design of bainite, the structure of bainite is different. As perlite is the alternate platelets of ferrite and cementite, the bainite is not a plate-like structure. Bainite is acicular structure or feather-like structure, which we can call it as upper bainite and lower bainite. So, although it is a part of steel and we are discussing about ductile iron, I just wanted to introduce the bainitic part of it. This is the simple micrograph of Austemper ductile iron, which is austenitized below the upper critical temperature and light regions are ferrite. Now we will start the part of austempering. Basically, the austenitizing temperature should be chosen such that the component is in austenite plus graphite phase field. So whether you are using gray cast iron or ductile iron, you have to select the austenitizing temperature based on your chemical composition. So as we all know, same in austempering case also, elements like silicon raises the upper critical temperature while manganese will lower it. Okay, graphite in ADI. Graphite shape is, although we are discussing about ductile iron, graphite shape is flake or spherical. The compact spheroid interrupts the continuity of matrix much less than graphite flake, and this results in higher strength and toughness. We all know these part of cast iron. So now we'll start with the basic part of it. ADI starts with good ductile iron. I have seen so many cases that despite of reading anything about austempering, the basic problem of manufacturer is he thinks that we will cast 500 by 7 or 600 by 3 and let's make it austempered ductile iron. So it's not like that. A good ductile iron does not mean any grade of ductile iron. Basically, if your ductile iron is strong, if your ductile iron is more perlitic, you will get the best results in case of austempering. There is also a part of different alloying elements and effects of alloying elements on austempering, like copper, molybdenum. We'll see it afterwards. So ADI starts with a good ductile iron. We are also checking on the different chemical elements of that ductile iron. But what is a high quality ductile iron which is having a consistent chemistry? As we all know that austempered ductile iron is always suitable, or we can say that austempered ductile iron is chosen because of its wear resistant along with ductility. So the if you want a best combination of ductility and wear resistance, you have to have the consistent chemistry in your ductile iron, which is not a much difficult part. Just the thing is, we have to change our mentality for the chemistry of ductile iron. It's not like we can cast any grade of ductile iron and we can make it austempered ductile iron. Then the consistent ferrite perlite ratio. It is also important part that along every cross sectional area of your casting, the consistency is more important, as we are going for austempered ductile iron in case of wear resistive parts. 100 plus nodules per mm square, this is a common requirement, you all know that, you are all doing that. 90% plus nodularity, we are all into these requirements. Then less than 5.5% carbide, micro shrinkage. So this is basically a good quality ductile and high quality ductile iron. Now we'll check the chemical composition of ADI. Now some of you may think that this is very precise, or these are too many elements to check on, to have control on. But still, in various research papers, it has been proved that for a good quality austempered ductile iron, you have to have control on all these elements. You can observe that there is a limit, maximum tolerance or maximum limit for every element. In case of carbon, silicon, manganese, magnesium, phosphorus, sulfur, these elements are common and you are already doing this for many years. But you have to take a proper look on copper percentage, which is 0.8% maximum. Nickel is 2%. So basically uh, we cannot name this as 500 by 7 grade, is it? Because we are having 2% of nickel, 0.8% of copper, 0.3% of moly, tin uh, is there, and rest of the elements have the maximum percentage of a very minimum amount. It's not much, but still we are looking at it for the sake of uh, good properties of austempered ductile iron, because the carbide forming elements should not be above a certain limit, as after quenching austempered ductile iron may get brittle, because we are doing this for the sake of wear resistance, but still we have to maintain the ductility of austempered ductile iron. So please observe every element of this chemical composition. Then as we have seen the uh, time temperature diagram earlier, from austenitizing temperature, just imagine in case of slow cooling, we will get perlite and ferrite as a resulting microstructure, and in case of uh, martensite, in case of hard structured castings, we have to quench it to the tangent to the nose. This is the nose area. We have to quench it directly touching, that is directly tangent to the nose, casting possible, which is martensitic structure. But as you all know, martensite is hard as well as brittle, and in this case uh, we do not want to compromise ductility of the ductile iron. So austempering is basically invented by the scientist named E.C. Bain, and from his surname Bain, the structure has called bainite. And the basic cooling process is, in case of hardening, just imagine, in case of hardening, we directly quench the metal into the oil, which is having the temperature near, not exactly near room temperature, but it's a temperature from 30 to 50, the quenchant. So the temperature of quenchant is near 50 degrees. which results in martensitic microstructure, which is hard and brittle. So what is ostempering? Ostempering is uh, never direct quenching to 40-50 degrees, nor slow cooling. Ostempering is in between stage of cooling, in between two slow cooling and rapid cooling. So in case of ostempering, we take the ductile ion of the chemistry just we have discussed. So we take the ductile ion to the austenitic temperature. We have to select the austenitic temperature properly by studying the chemical composition of it along with the ion carbon diagram, ion carbide diagram. And after austenitic temperature, we have to quench it in a salt bath. Sorry, we have to quench it in a salt bath. The salt is having a temperature range from 250 to 450 degrees centigrade. So this is the range when the scientist named E.C. Bain has invented the structure called bainite. He has taken so many samples and here the finalized temperature range is from 250 to 450. As we all know, martensite start temperature is 200 degrees centigrade. So if we touch the 200 degrees centigrade temperature, the martensite will start transforming. So martensite will start forming, and we do not want martensite in this case. So the selection of temperature range is from 250 to 450. Now there are 5 to 6 different grades of austempered ductile ion, and we have a temperature range from 250 to 450, and holding time is literally from 2 minutes to 3 hours, 6 hours. Here we can see a graph of temperature time, and this is the holding period after which we will get a bainitic structure. But please note that bainitic structure is basically a transformed structure which is in case of steel. In case of ductile ion, as we are having highest possible percentage of carbon, that's why we are getting high carbon stabilized austenite along with ferrite, acicular ferrite. The structure is called osferrite. So just remember the temperature range of austenitizing, which is 250 to 450, is from 2 minutes to 3 hours or more than 3 hours. Then cooling to a room temperature, then directly cooling to room temperature. Now just take a look at 5 different grades as per ASTM A897. You can observe that these are grades based on tensile strength and elongation. Although we are having a limit, is a combination of strength to hardness to hardness. So how to manufacture these different grades and what is the basic criteria of temperature and time for these grades? So we'll take from the hardest grade, which is grade number 5, which is having tensile strength of 1600 MPa, and there is no requirement of elongation as per ASTM. So we'll just take the grade number 4, which is having elongation percentage of 1% and hardness range of 366 to 477 BHN. So to obtain these properties, now we are having a temperature range of 250 to 450 degrees centigrade and holding period of 2 minutes to 3 hours. So for the hardest grade, when you will quench at the moderate temperature range like 300, 320, if you want maximum hardness with minimum elongation, you will not go, you are not going to hold these castings to that particular temperature. You have to take these castings to austenitizing temperature, then quench it into a salt bath having temperature range of around 320 to 350 degrees centigrade. Then immediately take it out, take the load out from salt bath, because uh, as uh, as soon as you will quench it, you will get the mixture of osphierite and retained austenite. But uh, if we want the softer grade, if you want the softer grade, you have to quench it to the temperature range of 320 to 350, but you have to maintain to that temperature for a certain period. We are going to see different microstructures also after these slides, but please remember that if we want harder grade, we have to quench it immediately and take it back from the salt bath. But if you want the better combination of strength and elongation, like the grade number 1, 2, or 3, you have to maintain those castings for a longer period. Like if you want the grade number 2, you have to keep those castings for 2 hours to 3 hours at the same temperature of ostempering process, quenching temperature. You have to maintain these castings for 2 hours to 3 hours for 2 hours to 3 hours in that furnace only. But please remember, the properties of ADI grades are affected by ostempering process and not the iron chemistry. We have discussed this in earlier slides as well, that ostempering starts with a good ductile ion, but still ostempering needs a proper chemistry ductile ion, but these grades have no relation with the alloying elements, or we can say it as chemistry. These grades have no relation with chemistry, but for every grade, for all of these grades, you have to cast the chemistry we have discussed earlier. That's it. So now we'll check it again, that ADI microstructure, we will not now we will not discuss about steel in further slides. Just we'll focus on the ostempered ductile ion only. So you can see the microstructure of ductile ion as we have seen earlier. This consists of acicular ferrite and high carbon austenitic matrix called osferrite. So if this is the combination of temperature and time, we will take another microstructure to discuss it. So let's see the content of retained time at the temperature thermal transformation. Basically, this process is called as isothermal transformation because we are selecting typical transformation temperature. We are not going to change it, and at the same temperature, we are going to stabilize these castings. We are taking these castings to this temperature in a salt bath. This temperature is salt bath temperature, quenching temperature, and we are going to maintain that temperature. And how we are going to maintain that temperature? As the salt bath, we are going to take the salt bath, and basically these salts are like KCl or combination of different salts, and we have 2-3 companies dealing in the salts used for ostempering. So initially we take these salts which is in solid state, and we have to melt these salts. Although it is a nice process to work on, still the cost of that maintenance of these temperatures is a little higher, because the salt is present in solid state, we have to keep it in liquid state, and as soon as we quench the castings into that salt, we have to maintain that temperature. And to maintain that temperature, we can add some amount of DM water. The addition of salt water is possible to maintain the same temperature. Then the shape, size and count of graphite nodules does not change in dependence of temperature of isothermal transformation and dependent on temperature, which means uh, this ostempering is not having any relation with shape, size and count of graphite nodules, but still a good quality, a nice quality ductile ion which is having the shape, size and count of graphite nodules, a better combination will give you a better combination of properties. At higher quenching temperature ranges, upper bainite and retained austenite is generated. Basically, this is for steel, as I have added the bainite part also. So at higher quenching temperature ranges, we will get upper bainite and retained austenite, whereas with lower quenching temperature, we'll get lower bainite and retained austenite. Because the bainitic part is important, I have added the bainite and retained austenite part in this. So let's check it out, the uh, different combinations of uh, salt bath temperatures and time. And ductile ion having the chemistry as we have discussed, like 0.8% copper and other alloying elements. Here in first image, the heat treatment cycle is, it is austenitized at 900 degrees centigrade, held for 2 hours for soaking period, then taken to the salt bath at 360 degrees centigrade. As I have told you, the temperature range for ADI is normally from 280 degrees to 380 degrees, depending on the properties you require. Held for 2 minutes and air cooled. Now that we'll just concentrate on the holding time in salt bath. When we hold it for 2 minutes and immediately take it back, you will see the combination. And one more thing I have to tell you, that in your experience, I think you know that if we go for annealing process of ductile ion, the nodularity might get compromised, because as you go to higher temperature and you are going for slow cooling of ductile ion, uh, for the sake of ferrite increment, it needs a carbon percentage, more carbon percentage, and we are having a carbon rich graphite. So this requirement is fulfilled by taking carbon from these graphites. So definitely nodularity may get hampered. But in case of ostempering, you will see in all microstructures nodularity is not compromised at all. So let's get to the point. The casting which is held for 2 minutes air cooled, you can see the combination of uh, austenite and acicular ferrite. In this case, we are getting maximum hardness with minimum ductility, because we have not held this casting for more amount of time. You can see the image number 2 and 3, the same casting, but we have aged it with different other reagents. Here you can observe that martensite is formed. As we have discussed earlier, martensite will not be formed above 200 degrees. But there are so many research papers, or there are so many cases, that along with osferrite is austenite and acicular ferrite is called as osferrite. So along with osferrite, there are so many research papers says that, and it has been proven that along with osferrite, there may get martensite get formed at in these cases, if you do not hold it for more than 10-15 minutes. So you will easily see that plate martensite is formed, fine martensite is formed, as well as there are dark needles of acid. So this is how it looks. This is how the look of austenite, retained austenite, and acicular ferrite. Okay. So we'll take one more example of austempered ductile ion having the same chemistry. You will observe in this presentation that every image, I mean to say every casting is having the same chemistry, but having different combinations of temperature and time. So in this case, the casting is austenitized at 900 degrees centigrade, held for 2 hours for the sake of soaking, then taken to the salt bath at 360 degrees. Again, the quenching temperature is same, but held for 30 minutes. When your holding time is getting increased, the percentage of martensite is present basically in a very minute percentage, but still, as you are going to increase the holding time, you are getting the martensite gets reduced, and ferrite and acicular ferrite and austenite is getting increased. Even in the images of image number 2 and 3, you can observe the acicular ferrite and austenite along with some amount of martensite. Now we'll check here. In the first image, which is austenitized at 900 degrees centigrade, held for 2 hours, taken to the salt bath at 380, whereas earlier we have taken 360, doesn't matter. But here we have held it for 180 minutes, like 3 hours, and then taken for air cooling. Here you can observe that a small amount of acicular ferrite is present, because as you are holding for more time, the acicular ferrite, the percentage of acicular ferrite decreases, right? And you will not observe martensite everywhere. The martensite percentage almost gets to 0. So the austempering is basically the combination of temperature and time. In case of steel, temperature matters a lot, because if you are taking higher degrees, you will get upper bainite. If you are going to the lower degrees, you will get lower bainite. But in case of ductile iron, temperature temperature is affecting the properties, the combination of tensile strength and hardness and ductility. Still, temperature does not have that much effect as the holding time is having, right? Then we will check the effect of copper. These are SEM microstructures of uh, austempered duct without austempering, that is basic microstructure, basic ferritic pearlitic microstructure, and microstructure of ADI, which is austempered at 350 degrees for 1.5 hours. You will observe that everywhere the austempering temperature is nearer to 350, it is 360 or 380. The basic parameter is holding period. Then for hardenability purpose, copper, nickel and molybdenum are added. But uh, we have to consider this part, that molybdenum, copper, nickel and molybdenum, they are good for austempering process. They are giving stability to your ductile ion in case of austempering. But still, these, like molybdenum is a carbide formation, carbide supporter. So your molybdenum addition is necessary up to a certain amount, because after a certain amount the carbide formation will get more and more in more and more amount. There is also some grades of carbide ADI, which is called as carbidic ADI, where we are going uh, we are going to form carbides for the sake of those applications. We are going for carbide formation for the need of those applications. Those ADI called as carbidic ostempered ductile ion. But for the normal grades of ADI, which we have seen from grade number 1 to grade number 5, these alloying elements, we have to control on these alloying elements. Then manganese segregates the regions between graphite nodules and also delays ostempering reaction. So you have to control the manganese percentage as shown in the chemical composition of it. Then alloying with copper increases elongation and impact energy, but decreases the strength of ADI. In case of ostempering, basically copper, nickel and moly are friend of ADI process, but still alloying with copper increases the elongation and impact energy, but decreases the strength. So although we are not making any changes for casting different grades of ADI, still we have to consider the effect of copper. Nickel is added up to 2%. Nickel is important because nickel also gives you stability in case of these heat treatment processes. Nickel will stabilize, nickel will not uh, goes against the heat treatment process, that is taking to a higher temperature, then quenching rapidly to a lower temperature. Then molybdenum. Molybdenum is a potent hardenability agent. So these alloying elements are important, but to a certain limit. Then we'll take an example, a case study. Plain ostempered ductile ion austenitized at 940 degrees and ostempered at 320 degrees. Copper enriched ADI austenitized at that temperature and ostempered at 290, showing nodules of copper rich phase around all. That means you can easily observe copper phase around the graphite. It is the copper uh, globule which is present, and in image number 2 or image B, copper phase is present around the graphite. So copper enriched ADI austenitized at 914 ostempered 320, showing a discrete copper globule left to the center. So copper is necessary in case of ostempered ductile ion. Economic advantages: ADI has excellent castability. I myself have uh, taken 4-5 different applications which were earlier manufactured using forging, and now we have transformed those from forging to ostempered ductile ion. That is, which means from steel to ADI. There are some examples which were already casted in ductile ion and transformed to ostempered ductile ion. So basically ADI gives you a better combination of ductility, hardness and mechanical strength. So ADI has castability. You all know that it is possible to obtain near net shape castings even of high complex parts. That is also possible in all cases. Although ADI is cheaper than steel forgings. Yes, it is true. ADI is cheaper than steel forgings, and we have 5 to 6 different case studies proving that forgings uh, get even more problems in case of ADI. For every forging, we have to go for normalizing. That normalizing process should be done by controlling the parameters of heat treatment, which is not, it is possible, but which is not so easy in case of forgings. Then ADI has weight saving of 10%. It is actually taken by taking a survey of comparison between ADI and steel forgings. Then these are different applications for which we can take. We have last time we have taken a casting of steel which was used for crusher industry, sugar industry, and transformed it to Austemper ductile iron, which is giving a nice performance then along with cost saving. So performance is always having a priority, and cost, as you all know, reduced. Then these are references. Thank you. One more thing. Uh, we will just take a reference of uh, another presentation. This presentation is not actually mine, but we'll just take a look on this presentation. Austemper ductile iron have different classification, that is ADI, AGI. We have also, I have also a case study and a proper application of AGI, that is Austempered gray iron, which we have worked on a shaft, or what we can call it as a plunger which was earlier a plunger which is being used by pressure die casting machines for aluminum. So these pressure die casting plungers were earlier manufactured using gray cast iron, and then they were doing regular oil quenching. So they're getting the wear resistant as well as hardness, but they are lacking in uh, not ductility. I don't want to say ductility, but uh, as we go for rapid quenching like martensite formation, definitely along with that hardness, along with that uh, wear resistance, we are getting too much amount of brittleness, and brittleness is not allowed in case of friction. So uh, we have transformed that part from gray cast iron along with oil quenching to Austempered gray iron. Then Austempered steel, carbo Austempered steel, then carbidic ADI, as I have told you earlier. In carbidic ADI, the carbide formation, we deliberately go to manufacture it by forming carbide formation. These grades we have already discussed. Then yield strength versus elongation for various metals. Here he has compared the ductile iron, not necessary to compare with it aluminum, but ADI in comparison with steel, alloyed and hardened, and ductile iron. So it is having better properties as compared with forging. Then impact energy results are also better in case of Austemper ductile iron. Abrasion resistant results, wear resistance is also good without compromising your ductility. Machinability, if we compare with 450 by 12 one steel, then 550 by 6, then ADI ductile iron. Here we can observe that we are getting a moderate machinability as compared with the other. Young's modulus survey is also done. Material cost as compared with forged steel or aluminum. So these are different examples for ADI: carriers, heavy truck diesel engine, timing gears, axle shafts, brackets, pintle hook, differential case or hub shaft, transmission carrier splines, tow hooks, gear cassette, hypoid ring, and pinion gear. So these are different applications which have already transformed from forging or casting to ADI. So thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity to share a small presentation with you. And we have one more announcement. From last 1 year, we are ISO 17025 accredited by NABL. So if you have any requirements, please share your requirements with us. You have my email ID along with my phone number with this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanket. Thank you very much. It was a very nice presentation and very well explained in a simple language. So thank you very. Any questions? Please go ahead with the questions. Is any comparative study after machining defect as compared to forging?
Is there any?
Comparative study after machining defect as compared to forging. So you want to understand is there in forging and ADI how what is the defect?
Actually, I didn't get the question.
Is there any comparative study for the defect after machining defects with
After,
respect to ADI and forging?
what kind of after machining defects you're talking about?
I think you may be asking about porosity, micro shrinkage, or something like that. Metallurgical defect, I hope.
Sorry, Sandeep sir, I'm not getting your voice.
Metallurgical defect, I think he was looking at.
But what are after machining defects? I think he meant to say after machining defects which we get in normal castings, right?
Yes,
Huh.
and
That
ADI.
internal defects which we face in case of CI or SG, which
In
get
forging,
in forging.
forging versus ADI. You
In
can go.
case of forging,
Yes.
no, basically there is no such study of after machining defects in comparison of ADI and forging, but definitely the cases in which we have transformed different grades, in that case we have not faced any kind of difficulties when we talk about after machining defects. If I have already told you, a nice quality, a best quality ductile iron will give you a perfect quality ADI. So if metal is having any defects in your castings, if your metal is having defects, whether it is forging or it is ADI, these defects are definitely going to exposed after machining.
True.
Right?
True. So there is no such studies there, and there are no chances that it will go down.
ADI has no
At the
effect.
initial stage only you say that the quality of ductile iron will be the quality of your ADI.
Right. ADI does not have any effect on these properties.
There is one more question about salt bath. What is the name of salt bath?
एक मिनिट संदीप सर मी शेअरिंग स्टॉप करून तिथे येऊ का?
Hi, no problem. Yes. Yes. Yes, there is a question. What is the name of salt bath?
Name of salt bath or manufacturer of salt bath?
You can give details if you have any specific details with you.
No, if you want a supplier of that salt bath, I will give you. Contact me using WhatsApp or you have my phone number. In 1 or 2 days, I will give you the supplier name.
There are few more questions. Yes, Upadhyay.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, Deepak.
Yeah, 1 minute. Hello, can we hear me?
Yes, Deepak. Go ahead.
Your voice is a little bit low. Hello, sir. There are
Hello.
two questions. Yeah, two
हाँ,
questions.
हाँ,
One is this ADA process is very comparatively very. It is not still popular. But I wanted to know whether this process is carried out after machining or before machining. That is the one question. And what is the percentage of the ADA castings are manufactured in India?
Okay. The first point is after machining or before machining.
Correct.
So it is actually ADI is having machinability. No issues about machinability, but still it is depending on the grade you are manufacturing. Like if you are going for higher number of or higher strength, higher hardness, and less ductility, you will definitely face problems while machining. But if you are going for grade number 1, 2, or 3, which is having higher ductility and less hardness, so in that case you will not face any problem in machining. So you can go for primary machining, then heat treatment, then final machining. But in case of higher hardness grades, you have to do final machining. I think if you have a grinding part of machining as a final process, you can keep the grinding after ADI process, but not any uh, other machining part.
Okay.
And
Hello, sir.
and what was your second question?
Hello,
Second
sir.
question is, what is the percentage of the ADI casting manufactured in India? Means it is going to be popular or?
Actually, the problem is, I think uh, I think before last 3 or 4 years, there is a hike of ADI. Everyone is talking about ADI. There are requirements in Germany. There are requirements in other European countries or in US of ADI. So that was a hike of it, that everyone is talking about ADI, and everyone is willing for transforming different grades to ADI. But now after these fluctuations in market, ADI is having basic problem for India. When we talk about India, ADI has a basic problem of cost, because whether you go to Pune or Kolhapur, heat treatment cost is more in India because of electricity cost. But in Germany, ADI has properly stabilized. ADI process is properly stabilized in Germany. So many components have been transformed, and they have also come to know that ADI process will not get any more opportunities in India just because of the cost. You can also I have one customer, Abhishek Alloys in Belgium. He has his own ADI plant, a small plant of ostempering in Udyam Bagh. But the problem is the cost of ADI, whether you do it in-house or outsource it, still ADI has a cost of around 30 to 40 rupees per kg. So increment of 30 to 40 rupees after these nickel additions, ductile iron. So the cost will not match to the required, the target cost of customer. So this is basic problem in India. Despite of it, there is no problem for doing ADI. And popularity, as we say about the popularity part, this is the problem. ADI is popular, but we are facing the problems of electricity hikes, rate hikes.
So not
Okay,
competitive, we can say.
yeah,
Ah,
yes, we are
exactly.
India
not
is not
competitive.
competitive with the market
Yes,
for
yes,
that.
not
Exactly.
competitive. Yeah. And yeah, further to that, your presentation is very nice. Only one thing is, if you add some inspection procedure after the ADI treatment, what are the specifically how we are the inspection processes need to be added, and how we have to come out of the means inspection procedure? What are the
Ha,
inspections
ha,
categories?
ha. Inspection procedures are same that applied to the ductile iron. For ductile iron, initially we check the chemistry part of it. So in case of ADI also, initially we have to check the chemistry part so that we can go further. After
Okay.
casting, similar requirements: tensile test, hardness test, and microstructure test.
Yeah.
These are
Okay.
basic requirements. Apart from
Okay.
that, there is no a special, there is nothing like any special requirement just for ADI.
Okay, sir. Okay, fine.
After heat treatment, Sanket, any specific requirement?
Definitely, definitely. We have seen different grades. The grades are named after here tensile strength, elongation, and hardness. So after ADI, we have to do tensile test, hardness test, BHN, and impact test.
Here
That is
tensile
also
strength is from the casting.
exactly.
Depend.
You can separately cast it also.
Okay. So it is just like our normal castings. Customer
Definitely,
base,
definitely.
customer demand. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Upadhyay, I think you have a question. Mr. Upadhyay. Avinash Joshi.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I have one or two doubts
Yeah.
and one supplementary.
Okay.
The first supplementary being Germans also use electricity. We also use electricity, and the cost benefit analysis must be more or less the same here and there.
Okay.
But the conditions in Europe and in Northern America,
Mm-hmm.
because they are having cold environment and sub-zero environments, maybe requirement of the hot tempered will be more than what we have here in India.
Okay.
Having said that, making good benetic basic structure is the fundamental requirement of this, isn't it?
Right, right, right.
But then I have one doubt. There is feathery bainite and there is regular bainite. How will it affect the quality of this earth tempering?
Feathery bainite and acicular bainite. These are two forms. So
Exactly.
So acicular bainite is nearer to martensite. That's why it is having more hardness and less ductility. And feathery bainite,
tougher.
But feathery bainite is the nearer to perlitic range. So feathery bainite is having more ductility but less hardness and strength.
But then how will it affect the earth tempering process?
I didn't understand exactly.
The difference in the microstructure must be affecting the same treatment, no?
Okay.
So how it lands in getting different properties? What I am trying to say is, suppose if I have one and the same casting, and because of some process variation, in part of the batch I am getting this bainite, and in part of the batch I am getting other bainite. But both of the casting, they will be mixed and they will be subjected to earth tempering.
Okay, sir.
How will the properties differ in that case?
Sir. Bainite is formed after ostempering, not before. So before ostempering process, your ductile ion is having perlitic structure, not bainitic.
You have to add molybdenum into that.
Exactly.
So moly will give you bainitic structure.
No. We have molybdenum content, but not that much which will change it in any other form. In the chemistry what I have discussed with you, this chemistry will give you almost 95% perlite.
See,
Huh.
as far as my this experience go for cast iron, around 0.15 to 0.2 molybdenum gives you bainitic structure.
Okay.
And there I have found, I was making rings of moly with molybdenum. So the chemical composition was more or less the same as Hg iron. But inoculation was less because it was cast iron. And since customer had specified moly, we used to add about 0.2 molybdenum into it. But in that case, sometimes we used to get acicular bainite, and sometimes we used to get, depending on variations in the spectro reading or our additions. So, as cast bainitic structure, you are bound to get, or you won't get.
The different grades we have manufactured till date. So in those cases, we have never seen a bainite before treatment as cast.
That means we have not found as cast bainitic structure.
We have not found as cast bainitic structure.
That is something which I must note and refer back.
Right. And even not just my observation. Even the other foundries, or I have told you Abhishek Alloys of Belgaum, even he has also not observed any bainite before as cast, before heat treatment as cast bainite. And even research papers also say that there is no presence of bainite before heat treatment.
I will.
संदीप सर.
हाँ बोलो.
सर आवाज येत नाहीये. हॅलो.
संकेत. हा संकेत भांदुर्गे बोलतो. ते अनम्यूट झालेत. हा, आणि मला एक सांगायचं होतं, ते आता अनम्यूट आहेत. आम्ही सिलिकॉन मॉली करतो सिमो विथ 0.9 मॉली, आणि आम्हाला बेनिटिक ऍस्कास कधी येत नाहीये.
एक्झॅक्टली.
या, अँड ही वॉज टॉकिंग अबाउट 0.15 आणि हे 0.2 वगैरे. तर हे इट इज जनरली वी गेट फेरेटिक परलिटिक स्ट्रक्चर, and it is only after this one heat treatment it get converted to bainitic.
These are perlite stabilizers, so we are definitely getting perlite.
Yeah. Very true.
Mr. Upadhyay, I think you have raised your hand. Please unmute yourself and start ask question. Mr. Upadhyay. Yes, Avinash Joshi is now unmuted. Yeah.
No, nothing. I don't have to ask anything.
Okay. Thank you.
Whatever doubts I had, I asked him.
Yeah. Okay, so Sanket, thank you very much. I think there are no more questions.
Yeah.
In the chat box also.
Sandeep, sir.
And so thank you very much for your support and presentation.
Yeah, thank you everyone.
Yeah, thank you all the participants for joining us. We'll be back after 15 days with a panel discussion on inoculation. And for that, panel discussion, we'll be having 4 giant of inoculation, we can say. We'll be having MPM, we'll be having LCAM, we'll be having SNAM, and we'll be having Castwell. So there will be 4 giants there for the panel discussion on inoculation control. So please join us on 30th of September. That is Sunday at 6:30 p.m. So thank you very much. Until then, good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you, Sanket.
Thank you, Sanket.
Yeah, thank you.